Hey guys, DZF here. I just did a combo video, and you guys seem to like that, so I'm going to do a tip video this time. We're going to talk about our main four spirit monsters here: Aratama, Nikotama, Izanami, and Yaksha. You may play others, that's totally cool too. I'm going to focus on the ones that I play though. I believe these are the best four in terms of right now. I don't really like Rasetsu and Dark Death Spirit, and I've had a fair amount of experience with this deck. I mean, I've played two regionals and a YCS. The regional that I got 7th at, and the YCS I went 8 and 3 at. So I do have a fair amount of experience with this deck, and I feel these are the four most important and the ones I'm going to focus on today. As you can tell by the title of the video, the topic is going to be knowing when to set these. As you know, or probably know, or going to find out, Sphere monsters in general, at least these four, all get their effects when they're flip face up or normal summoned. This is slightly different Nikotama. If your opponent attacks this and you flip it up, you can't normal summon a monster on their turn, but all of the other three definitely can get their effects when set. So let's talk about the advantages of setting them. The advantages of setting them is that you potentially are going to get three monsters on your side of the field on your turn. I mentioned in a lot of videos that having three monsters on your side of the field is a way to win with spirits, because that means you can get a Nikotama draw when you detach for a rank 4. It allows you to do a lot of manipulation. With that being said, should your set monster get destroyed without being flip face up, you are totally screwed. An Aratama, for example, just talking about Aratama for a second, is one of the best spirit monsters, if not the best, because he searches so much and builds your card advantage. First turn summoning him is good, but if you can slip off setting him and having him get flipped, survive the battle, add a card to your hand, and then you add him back to your hand during your opponent's turn, next turn you can get another search, so you +2 instead of +1. That is a huge swing in momentum. Even better, if your opponent doesn't attack it, you can flip summon it, add Nikotama or another spirit monster, depending on if you already have Nikotama, and then you can summon Nikotama, summon your extra spirit monster, and you have 3 monsters on board. The problem is that if you only have one Aratama in hand and you set it and it gets hit by Atlantean Marksman, Dark Hole, Exciton Knight, any of these things, you lost your Aratama and now you don't have any search. The +2 doesn't matter if you don't plus any, so that's something to keep in mind. Another thing is that Aratama, Nikotama, and Izanami, all of them at 1800 defense. That's pretty big this format. Fire Fist Bear, while it can use its effect to destroy them, that's a risk I just discussed. It can't actually run it over in battle. Not a lot of level 4s can actually run these over in battle, so most of the time they're going to survive. Yaksha isn't so lucky. It only has 1500 defense. Raisetsu is 1900, so I guess that's, I don't know, that's the only time I ever found myself using him was when I set him, but Yaksha, you might want to stay away from setting. Overall, though, we're looking at a situation where often the risk is just not worth the reward. A big advantage that spirits have is they bounce back to the hand. This prevents your opponent from activating stuff like Onslaught of the Fire Kings, Booge Incarnation, stuff like that. So setting them means they're going to stay on the field, which can be a good and a bad thing. But in general, the ones I found are worth setting are Aratama and Izanami. Aratama is worth setting if you can protect it, or if you know you're not playing against Mermails. If you're playing at locals and everybody plays the same deck, the risk is always going to be higher at like a YCS. I know, like, that kind of stuff. If you don't know what you're playing against, it's a little harder to calculate. Mermails are very popular in this format, and sometimes setting Aratama will cost you the game, which really sucks. Izanami is something that is worth setting if you have a Nikotama engrave, and especially if you have a Nikotama in hand. If you set an Izanami and you're both low on advantage and you have a card in hand and they attack it and it survives, you can add Nikotama back to your hand, which means that your next turn you're either going to have another draw in addition to draw phase, or you're potentially just going to have a rank 4 right there. So that's very cool. You can do a very similar thing with Aratama. The Izanami one happens more when you're low on card advantage, whatever. Yaksha, though, if your opponent, this works only against like bad opponents, but if your opponent sets traps before they attack because they're like an idiot or something, Yaksha can be cool because you can just bounce back to the hand, and that kind of stuff. You can also I mean, you can do some stuff like if you want to bounce like a decree, and then when they draw or when they enter the main phase 2, you activate a trap card or something like that. You can get stuff. You can stop stuff from being Phoenix Chained. That is something that might come up if you set a Yaksha and you have Exciton Knight, and your opponent attacks the face down. You can maybe bounce a Phoenix Chain that is on Exciton Knight and blow up the field. That's a pretty good play. That kind of stuff. In general, though, I wouldn't advise setting things unless you have a huge amount of protection. A Resolved Aratama that's set puts you in a very good position, but the rest of them, the risk usually doesn't outweigh the reward. It usually does outweigh the reward. The reward isn't high enough. It kind of is up to you. Just take note of the situation, know what you're playing against, know what they can do to stop it. Oftentimes, if you set a spirit and it gets destroyed, you will lose the game, and you have to make a calculated decision based on what you know and what you don't know. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think of these types of videos, and if you want me to do more of them or not. I don't really know. So anyway, bye.